All right, today we're tackling a massive question in the data world: Splunk versus Elastic. And look, this is way more than just a feature comparison. This is really about choosing a core data strategy that's going to define your organization for years to come. And it all comes down to one really simple question.
Yeah, it really all boils down to this. Are you in the market for a finished product, something you just adopt, or are you looking to assemble a powerful, custom platform? Seriously, your answer to that is going to guide everything else we talk about.
Okay, so here's the best way I've found to think about this: Splunk. That's like walking into a dealership and driving off with a fully loaded luxury SUV. It has everything: power, integrated systems, it's just ready to go. Now, Elastic, that's more like getting a world-class engine and a top-of-the-line chassis. You get to build the exact custom car you want, but, and this is the key, you've got to bring the engineering team to put it all together. All right, so let's kick things off with their core philosophies. Because even though they're both trying to solve these same massive data problems, man, they come at it from totally different angles. So let's break down how they actually position themselves. Splunk, which is now a part of Cisco, is a classic proprietary commercial product. You buy it, you install it, you use it. Simple as that. Elastic, on the other hand, really leans into that free and open vibe. It's a toolkit. You download the pieces, you design your own setup, and you build your solution. This difference in feel, how you experience the product, it's absolutely central to everything. Okay, so let's pop the hood and see how those philosophies actually translate into the tech itself. How are these two giants actually built, and what's it really take to get them up and running? Splunk's architecture is, well, it's pretty darn straightforward. You've got three main parts, and they're all pre-integrated to work together. You have your forwarders grabbing the data, the indexers parsing and storing it, and then the search heads are where you do your querying and visualizing. The whole thing is a validated, out-of-the-box system designed to get you from zero to actually seeing your data on a dashboard, fast. Now, let's contrast that with the Elastic Stack. See here, you've got a whole set of super powerful but separate tools. You've got Beats and the Elastic Agent shipping your data. Then there's Logstash, which is this whole other powerful pipeline just for transforming data. And of course, at the core, you have Elasticsearch for search and Kibana for visualization. You are the architect here. You're the one assembling these best-in-class pieces into your own custom pipeline. Okay, so it's no surprise that these totally different approaches lead to totally different ways you end up paying for them. So let's follow the money and connect the tech to the TCO, the total cost of ownership. So the pricing models here are just fundamentally different animals. With Splunk, you're usually paying based on how much data you're feeding it every day, so gigabytes per day, or by how much compute your searches are using. You are, in essence, paying for a license. With Elastic, you're paying for the hardware, the RAM, the CPU, the storage, and, just as importantly, the engineering hours to manage all of it. And this is where you really need to pay attention, because the risk is different for each. Splunk's model, well, it can create this fear of data, right? Where your teams are scared to log everything because they might blow up the license cost. But Elastic's model can create a fear of complexity, where you end up totally underestimating the operational nightmare and the number of engineers you need to run it at scale. All right, now let's get into what might be the single most important technical difference between these two. It all comes down to how they handle your data when it first comes in the door. So Splunk uses what's called schema-on-read. What that means is you can just dump all your unstructured data into it. Just throw it all in there. And you only figure out what the important fields are later when you're actually running a search. It is incredibly flexible, perfect for those times when you don't even know what questions to ask yet. Elastic, on the other hand, uses schema-on-write. This means you have to define the structure of your data before you send it in. Yeah, it takes more planning up front, but the payoff is blazing fast search performance because the data is already perfectly optimized. So there it is, the classic trade-off: flexibility versus speed. And that flexibility in Splunk is all powered by its famous query language, SPL. It's really cool. It reads almost like a story. It's a pipeline. You start with your raw data, and then you use these little pipe symbols to send it through different commands that filter, transform, and count things up. It was literally built for operators and analysts. Okay, so for years, if you wanted to do powerful stuff in Elastic, you had to learn this really complex JSON-based query language. It was a bit of a barrier. But now there's ESQL. And just look at it. It looks so similar to Splunk's SPL and to regular old SQL. And this is a huge deal. It makes Elastic's incredibly powerful engine so much more approachable for the same analysts who have been using Splunk for years. All right, let's shift gears and look at the highest stakes use cases. This is where these platforms really go head to head in the big leagues. We're talking security, specifically SIEM or security information and event management, and observability. The first thing you have to understand is that you're not picking a winner and a loser here. Not at all. These are both absolute titans in the space. I mean, Splunk has been a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for SIEM for like a decade. And in 2025, Forrester named Elastic a leader for its security analytics platform. The main takeaway here, whichever one you pick, you're getting a top-tier, highly respected solution. But their approach to solving these problems is different. Splunk gives you this powerful portfolio of what are really best-in-class products. You've got Splunk Enterprise Security, you've got their SOAR tool for automation, their Observability Cloud. They're all tightly integrated, but they are distinct products. Elastic's big advantage, or their big selling point, is that security and observability aren't separate products. They're just native apps running on the exact same data store. That unified approach can be a game changer when you're trying to track a problem across different domains.
You know, a huge part of managing these platforms day to day is data retention. How long can you keep data and what can you do with it? Splunk has this really clear life cycle. Your data moves from hot to warm to cold and finally to a frozen archive. Now, the crucial part here is that last step. To actually search that frozen data, you have to manually thaw it out. You have to rehydrate it back into a state where it's searchable, and that adds time and operational effort.
Elastic's lifecycle looks almost identical on the surface, but there is one absolute game-changing difference: searchable snapshots. This tech lets Elastic query data directly from cheap object storage, think Amazon S3, even when it's in those cold or frozen tiers, without doing a full restore. For things like long-term compliance or threat hunting way back in time, this is a massive, massive advantage. It saves you both time and a ton of money. Okay, so we've covered the philosophy, the architecture, the cost, the big use cases. Let's pull it all together now and help you figure out which one of these giants really aligns with your organization's strategy. So, Splunk is going to be your answer if you're in a compliance-heavy industry like finance or government, if you need a proven, market-leading SIEM right out of the box, if you value having a vendor to call for support and using validated designs over deep, deep customization, and finally, if your team would rather master a powerful query language like SPL instead of managing complex server clusters. If that sounds like you, Splunk's probably your horse in this race. Now, on the flip side, Elastic is probably your fit if you've got a really strong DevOps or platform engineering team that's comfortable running complex systems at scale, if you're bought into the idea of a single, unified platform for everything, logs, metrics, security, the whole shebang, if you're really sensitive to that ingest-based pricing model and you'd rather invest in your engineers, and if you have crazy high volumes of observability data that would just be cost prohibitive anywhere else. That's the Elastic sweet spot. And that really brings us to the core takeaway of this whole thing. The choice here isn't about good versus bad. That's the wrong way to look at it. It's all about strategic alignment. You have to ask, does your company's culture, your budget, and your team's skill set align with adopting a powerful product or building on a flexible platform? So, as we wrap up, the question really comes back to you. Now that you've seen the philosophies, the trade-offs, and the unique strengths of each, which path are you going to take? Will you choose the proven power of the product or the endless possibilities of the platform?